and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Another Round. It's your boy Mike Thomas, and I'm there with my friend, the Gateshead Grappler again, Hamza Hanif. How's it going? Looking cool with you with the background, man. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely.
Thank you very much. We've got headphones and stuff now. We're upgrading.
I need to get the headphones. I need to upgrade from these, mate. Get the headphones.
You're doing well, mate. You're doing good,
mate. What an absolute packed year of boxing. Not even just like the rest of the year. Just coming up, mate. Triple G, Canelo this weekend. So many good fights coming up, man. I'm excited about so many, which we're going to go over. So we're going to go over the, first of all, go over AJ Usyk just quickly. Quick summarize of that. Then go on potential mega fight between AJ and Tyson Fury, which I'm mad excited about because that sounds like it's been signed, which we'll get on to.
Yeah.
Canelo Triple G, we're going to go over our predictions, how we think that's going to play out. And then also look into another massive fight, the clash of the Joes, Joe Parker, Big Joe and Little Joe, as some people say, Joe Parker and Joe Joyce at Manchester.
They're both pretty big, to be fair.
Massive, huge guys, dude. And then also very, very excited to potentially look at a matchup between Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz, providing he gets through against Robert Helenius, which, you know, we're pretty confident he does since that's his sparring partner anyway. So I feel like he knows.
Yeah.
He knows he's got his number. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, let's just quickly go over. Obviously, also the ladies' fight got cancelled. RIP. God save the Queen and all over there with the King and everything. You guys are having holidays left, right, and center, having more fun than Billy Joe Saunders with some Red Bull and cigarettes all over the place and other nefarious things. But AJ and Usyk, mate. Disappointed, obviously. You obviously, we've already spoke about it, but just quickly give your opinion, mate, on that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, like, I think there's a lot of positives to take from the actual fight itself. Like, obviously, the overall night was disappointing, especially the way that it ended. But in terms of the actual fight, AJ improved tremendously from fight 1 to fight 2. It's just, I think, to be honest with you, he gassed a little bit. Like, it was quite level up until the 9th round. I mean, I'm not saying that Usyk was by any means dominate. It was up in the air, you know, at one stage, and then Usyk just went that extra bit and created just, you know, he just finished so strongly. But I think that was an element of fatigue set in, which was always going to be a factor, which is why everybody was saying, you know, AJ has to go early while he's still got plenty of gas in the tank. And I think that was another thing that kind of added to not only the fans' disappointment, but AJ's as well, because I don't think he really did try and go out on his shield. He still fought very tactically. He fought with his head. He tried to execute a game plan. And ultimately, the better man won. What did you think? Yeah,
no, absolutely. And he even, just to add to your point, he even said, he went out and said, look, I'm not a 12-round fighter. I can't fight for 12 rounds. I mean, he shouldn't really be saying that, but that is literally what he said. So
he's heavy. He's 18.
Yeah, he's heavy. He's just got a lot of muscle mass that just wears him down, you know, gasses him out, you know, and it affects people in different ways. But AJ really does gas out late on. And he was able to find a second wind in some of his fights, like against Klitschko, where I remember he looked gassed in the Klitschko fight. Dillian White, he looked gassed, and he kind of found a second win. But I think he was just so defeated by probably Usyk's output, punching the amount, because he's so fast as a you know, cruiserweight coming up to heavyweight. He's a lot faster than your average heavyweight, but also just frustration because he wasn't getting any joy. You know, he was frustrated. You know, you and I think it was the 9th round where he really hurt him, and he didn't quite get on top of him. He didn't do enough. I don't think he's just quite good enough. I'm not saying I don't think he tried, because he definitely was a lot better the second fight. Didn't have enough. He didn't have enough. He was frustrated.
One thing I will quickly say, though, is I think if AJ is fighting a bigger, heavier man, a lot of those punches that he's throwing, a lot of those combos, they do land. I think that they do. I think if you look at Usyk as a fighter, he's got more amateur and professional fights than Fury and Joshua combined. So combine their amateur and professional records, and he's got considerably more fights.
Yeah.
Not only that, he fights. He's a southpaw, but he fights in a very Ukrainian style of southpaw. Like there's only him and Lomachenko at the top level who really fight like that. So it's not like he can get sparring partners for that, you know.
No.
So it's just one of those where I just think he's too far ahead. There's too much of a gap to bridge for Joshua technically to be better than him. So what we thought would happen if the fight went 12 rounds happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He won
That's what we said.
then.
Yeah, he'd win on points. And, you know, at the end of the day as well, this is a common theme with Eastern Europeans, Ukrainians, Mexicans, and, you know, Russians. They tend to have so many more amateur fights. I don't know what it is. Maybe they just can't get the fights abroad, so they tend to stay in amateur longer, and they're fighting their own countrymen for a lot longer. I don't know what the reason is, but you'll find a lot, you know, even Triple G.
Do they start younger? Do you think that's
I think they start younger, probably they start younger, but they just seem to, you know, there seems to be like double hundred, you know, a couple hundred amateur fights before they even get professional.
It's mad.
I think in
Fury
the
had
UK,
30.
yeah, and I think the people in the UK, you know, the fighters in the UK and the US are probably more drawn to professional because you're making money, obviously, and they probably want to turn that over, and there's more money in the US and the UK, so they're kind of probably another factor as to why that happens. But yeah, no, Usyk, you can tell he's just like muscle memory. When he gets in there, he looks so comfortable. He looks like he's just doing the motions, like he's been obviously done this 400 times or whatever it is, how many fights he's had. So he looks so comfortable, you know, because they also have recorded fights and unrecorded as well with the amateurs, some of these guys as well. But yeah,
I think you made such a good point there as well. It's such a good point in terms of that's why Usyk never gets tired, because it is muscle memory. It's all just reaction. He's so relaxed and he's so like in the moment.
Yeah,
where he's not trying to force anything to happen. He's not like he's just so relaxed, and
he doesn't
he's done
panic.
it a million times.
He doesn't panic. Yeah. We see with AJ, he gets hit and he goes back to the old style. So whatever he's trying to learn, he just reverts to the old AJ. And Usyk stays very, very composed. He's and you can tell that as a guy, he's just a relaxed man. You know, whenever he's in press conferences and interviews, does not care. So anyway, Fury has now come out, and obviously, as we know, and he's, in my opinion, you've got sort of different opinions, which is always good, but Fury's come out and made a very shrewd move, in my opinion. You don't think that it is purposeful, but I do, because I believe that him calling out AJ now, fighting AJ, having AJ lost three of his last three of his last 5 fights. If he loses against a Fury, man, that is a serious blip on his career, and it's difficult for him to then come back and be a title contender. He's going to have to work his way back through the rankings.
I think he would have to take a long break as well, because it's a lot of losses in a short span of time.
A lot of shorts, yeah, exactly.
Big fights as well. Big fight, a lot of eyeballs.
Big, massive fight. Everybody in the world's going to be watching that. Fury AJ, it's the fight that we've all been wanting, probably under different circumstances, but I'll take it, mate, because so what happened with the last one?
I love
what happened with the last one? It took so freaking long, and then it didn't go through.
Yeah.
So we're not going to put anything in stone, but apparently they've agreed to fight 3rd of December at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that one. Maybe we can do some commentary on that, and that's unless you get tickets, because I know you probably want to go to that fight.
I'll try my best. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be a interesting one. If Fury can knock out AJ, which is no easy task, because I expect that one to go. How do you see it?
I think Joshua has more. I think Joshua has more of a chance than what people are giving him. But before I talk about the fight, I just want to talk about the actual making of the fight. I think it's super interesting the way this has came about with Joshua coming off 2 losses, albeit they're to the same man, so it's not as bad. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's fought someone else and then got chinned by him as well.
Well, it's Usyk as well, so it's like number one.
Yeah.
So,
and I think there is a little less shine on the fight. You know, I'm massively excited for it, and I can't wait. But there is a little less shine off it. Because of the way that AJ went on after the Usyk fight, the fact that he lost in itself. But from the way I understand it, Usyk has a couple of niggles and he can't fight in December. So they're going to revisit that fight in spring of next year, which is the fight that I really, really want to see now. But obviously this one might throw a spanner in the works for that. Mm-hmm. So on to this actual fight itself, though, I think Joshua's been written off massively. There's no sort of in between with Joshua. He's either really, really good or he's really shit. Like in the eyes of the public, you know what I mean? Like he's either like nothing or he's like really. And I think Joshua actually fights better when he's fighting taller guys, like guys of his size. Like, you know, as awkward and as tricky as Fury is, his body mechanics will not allow him to move in the way that Usyk does.
No.
Don't get me wrong, the mechanics that he does have might be more than enough for Joshua to be hitting air all night, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think this is going to be a super interesting fight, man, because I think a lot of those combos that Usyk was throwing, I apologize, that Joshua was throwing at Usyk, I think they land, and I think this is actually a far more competitive fight than what people are giving it credit for.
And it's heavyweight boxing, anything can happen, as we always say. But very, very quickly on that point you just made, you made a very, very good point about Joshua struggling with short guys. We saw that with Ruiz. We saw that with Takam. I noticed that with Carlos Takam. Carlos Takam's a man who's 6'1", 6'2", and he did really struggle with him being a lot lower. And I think you're right. He absolutely blitzed. Well, he did blitz him, but Klitschko, 6'6", 6'5", and Tyson Fury, you're probably right. He's probably going to have a better chance. But quickly, let's move on to this fight this weekend, mate. Very excited. Canelo Triple G is the third and final to settle the scores, because obviously there's a bit of controversy with the first two, depending on where you stand with it, how you see it, and how you saw the judges' reactions and what they put down. But how do you see this Canelo Triple G fight on Saturday? Obviously, they're both a bit older. Canelo's a lot younger, obviously. Triple G's getting on in age. He's into his 40s now. So What do you think, man? What do you think?
I think it's a hugely intriguing fight. I think it's a fight that's kind of crept up a little bit. You know, like it was just being announced and then now it's fight week and it's like, whoa. But it's really intriguing because obviously Golovkin's older. He's fighting at super middleweight. And he's sort of been inactive aside from the Murata fight, slightly. Mm-hmm. Canelo's coming off a loss, though he's been in the form of his life. You know, he's boxed back-to-back champions and looked great doing it, like looked untouchable doing it. Mm-hmm. Seemed to take a step too far against Bivol. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really intriguing for those reasons, because you kind of look at it and think, where's Canelo's head going to be at? He's no longer the invincible man. Not that Triple G ever treated him like that anyway. Triple G kind of, in those first two fights, went to him in a way that nobody else kind of was able to. But in his own mind, how is he going to overcome that, knowing that he was outboxed, he was put on the ropes at times, he was unable to effectively get anything off against Bivol. So, and at the same time, I worry about Golovkin's age. I worry that, he's 40 years old. He's almost waited for this fight, in a way that Canelo hasn't. Canelo's kind of went on, dominated another division, and Triple G's kind of not really done very much. He's boxed here and there, but they've not been massive events. So it's really intriguing.
I like those points, mate. And I love when when I have a different opinion, to me, it usually means it's going to be a good fight, because I think the opposite. I think Canelo is so determined to get the win, because I feel like he got publicly, not embarrassed, not shamed, but I feel like he felt like he was unjustly treated fighting against Bivol. A lot of the casuals didn't understand he's going from a man that's 5'6", he's going up to fight a 6'1" guy in the light heavyweight division. That's unheard of. That's unheard of in the history of boxing. He's daring to take on massive challenges that nobody else is. I think you've got to give huge respect to Canelo, even though he did lose to Bivol. I think he's more determined than ever to put right the kind of questionable results previously that he had with Triple G. I think he's going to knock Triple G out, and I think it's going to be in the later rounds, maybe 9 to 12 in the championship rounds, my friend.
I disagree.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I disagree.
Well, we're going to see, bro. We are going to see.
He is never. This is the thing, right? Both of them have monstrous chins. I think it's going to go 12 rounds, personally.
Yeah.
But can I just say, though, the reason I'll never go for a Triple G knockout is because he's never even been knocked down, and he's ate everything, and his chin is certified granite, like the way he eats it and just walks on. But Canelo said something interesting, and he said that he was going to go to the body a lot more. And I think Murata had Triple G hurt to the body a couple of times. I don't know if he was hurt, but he definitely looked uncomfortable. And I think that might be the way for Canelo to force a stoppage. If I just don't think he's going to knock him out. If he didn't do it in those first two fights, I struggle to see how he's going to.
Let's say a TKO.
Yeah.
Technical knockout. A stoppage. Anyway, man, just quickly as well. Yeah, mate, I think that's a good prediction.
Comment and subscribe to another round boxing
I think
channel.
it could go either way. I'm backing Canelo, you're backing Triple G, so that'll be good. So, but coming on
either way, man, mega excited for that fight. Can't wait for it, man.
Otherwise, we've got a massive fight between Big Joe and Little Joe, however you want to put it. The two Joes, Joe Joyce, Joe Parker, Manchester Arena, AO Arena, 24th of September. Not even far away, next weekend, bro. Dead excited. God, mate, there's so many good fights. I think
it's hard to keep up. There's that many good fights.
It is. I think that's a huge step up for Joe Joyce. I don't think it's impossible for him to win. And I think he should be able to win, but it's still a massive test for him because Joe Parker, I think, is a lot faster. Joe Joyce is quite slow, actually. He's got a lot of power, but he's nowhere near as fast as some of the elite boxers that in heavyweight division. And Joe is going to be a good litmus test for him because he's so quick.
Massively, especially because when you look at Joe Joyce's resume as well, like, what's the biggest name on there? Would you say Daniel Dubois? Would you agree with that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, Christian Hammer's kind of old and getting on, but probably Daniel Dubois.
And Dubois is kind of untested himself. You know, I think, you know, he's got a lot of potential and he could eventually become something, but I think that's a few years down the road, whether that will play out or not. So it's a massive step up for Joe Joyce because it's like he's went from Dubois and Hammer to a guy who's only lost to Dillian White and to Joshua, so a former world champion. And he's kind of got he's almost been reborn a little bit. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but he's with Tyson Fury. He's working with them. With that camp, exactly. He's got that Kronk influence, and it's kind of rejuvenated him a little bit. So it is a massive step up, and it's going to be interesting how it plays out.
And I think if I remember rightly, actually those fights that he lost. I mean, I think with Joshua, I think it went 12 rounds anyway. I don't think it was like so one-sided. I think he was unlucky in that one, and I don't think he's. I think he's a very, very good fight, Joe Parker. And so that is a really exciting fight because obviously Joe Joyce he's wanting to step up with the big boys and compete for the WBC. He's hoping he can just knock Joe Parker out and go for the winner of. He was supposed to be going for the winner of Usyk and Joshua. Obviously, that's changed now because the playground's changed because obviously Tyson Fury's come back from his retirement, which he did about 4 or 5 times. But he's back, and obviously that's completely changed the framework because he's now going to want to be the winner of whoever wins between AJ and Fury. Let's say Fury wins, Fury and Usyk, and then go into that decider to be the WBC contender. But he's got a huge step up first against Joe Parker, and I'm very curious to watch that one, mate. That's going to be a great fight to look into, so I'm excited about that.
Definitely. And I think Joshua and Joyce are a good matchup, and I think they will match up somewhere down the line. Win, lose, or draw probably for Joshua. I think Joyce has to win. I think Joyce has to keep winning if he's going to get that crack at Joshua. Where I feel like Joshua could lose his next fight and still probably land that fight. So it's really interesting. Who have you got in that fight between the two Joes?
Well, Joe Joyce has got more power. Joe Joyce has got the knockout power. So if he can land, and he's got a hell of a jab. I mean, that's what undid Daniel Dubois with those incredible jabs that he's got, horrible jabs, and he's coming from a great height, and they're coming down at your face. So I think Joe Joyce has got an incredible jab. It depends whether Joe Parker is able to get into him kind of like on the inside, if he's able to work the body of Joe Joyce, if he's able to get into pockets and avoid the jab and the 1-2s from Joyce. I'd see it either being a knockout for Joe Joyce or a points win for Parker. So I'm going to say but it's a tough one to call.
It is. No, it is. It's and I think part of the reason is because Joe Joyce is sort of unproven, but yet he clearly has the potential. So it's like it is a really sort of intriguing fight. I think the keys to victory for Joe Joyce are, I think he needs to be able to keep that pressure on him, that sort of relentless pressure that he has. Like, he almost walks people down, like in that way where he just doesn't stop going. He just keeps going forward, and eventually the other person just can't seem to stop him from getting off what he wants to do. I'm slightly favouring Joe Joyce because I think Parker, I think one of the ways he's going to win is if he's able to keep Joe Joyce at range, and if he's able to sort of stay cool when he's under that pressure and he's under that cosh and he's being walked down and it's starting to get deep into the fight, and Joe Joyce is still coming with the same level of cardio, with the same sort of methodical forward approach that he has. I'm slightly favouring Joe Joyce, but what do I do? I'm gonna go for Joe Joyce on points. I think Parker's he went 12 rounds with Joshua. I think he's got a good chin on him. He doesn't seem to.
So is Joe Joyce though, mate.
Joe Joyce has got an incredible chin on him. It's another battle of the chins. Once again, it's a battle of the chins.
I don't know if I mentioned this as well, but Joe Joyce, if you believe what he's been saying in interviews, he's come out and said that he's got the bone density 5 times stronger than the average human. So he's saying that his bones are so much stronger that he doesn't basically, like he's very hard to knock out. So, he's like a Frankenstein, just coming forward with the jab, constantly just coming there with a prodding jab the whole time. Just relentless, mate. I think I wish, do you know what it is? Joe Joyce would be perfect, right? Because of the way that he looks and the way that he, like, if he had like charisma, for example. Yes.
I don't mean that in a bad, like, I don't mean that in a terrible way. I just mean like it would add so much. Do you know what I mean? To his personality, like it would add so much to his like sort of marketability. If he had because he just comes across so badly in press conferences and interviews and everything like that. Not badly, like as in like he comes off like a bad person. I just mean like he just comes off like someone you don't really want to watch that much. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
I think he's getting better, but in the nicest possible way. Like, he's not the most entertainment value when it comes to interviews and questions. But not everybody, everybody can be. He's a brilliant fighter, and respect to him as a fighter.
Massive, yeah.
And you can keep using that guy from the in-betweeners to be his mouthpiece, to come and Simon guy. That guy can come and talk for him instead.
Yeah, what's that guy? Who's he? Sam Jones? Is that what he's called?
Yeah, there's the Sam Jones guy. There's another guy that wears glasses who looks like the Simon guy from In-Betweeners, the little nerdy one. He just does all the press conferences. And I can't.
Was he the guy that was winding up Hearn? Did you watch that really bizarre press conference?
I think he was. Yeah.
That was a terrible performance by Hearn. Did you watch that fight? Do you remember it at all? He was so fat.
Yeah, he had kind of a mercurial kind of career. It's when he's motivated, when he's not motivated. It's like when he had Deontay Wilder, and Deontay Wilder just beat him in one round or whatever it was, that one fight where
they had a really tasty fight the fight before. So
yeah, they went 12 rounds, and then I think the rematch, I feel like he didn't train or anything. I don't think he tried. I think
he Ruized it. He was on the Ruiz. He was on the Ruiz plan.
Yeah, absolutely Ruiz.
No, he did.
Yeah, and speaking,
Ruiz was his PT for that one.
Yeah, man. Leading nicely on. Andy Ruiz is looking in fantastic shape, mate. He's looking in the best shape I've ever seen him. And that's what gets me excited about him and a potential matchup with Deontay Wilder. Provided that Deontay Wilder can come through Robert Helenius, who we already think is kind of a gimme because he trains with the guy who sparred him. So he obviously knows his tricks of the trade. And I feel like he's very confident going into that. Obviously, he's picked that as his comeback fight, so you'd expect him to come through that. Him and Andy Ruiz, a mega fight. Now, I fancy Wilder in that fight because, if you think about the people that have troubled Wilder, which is only really Tyson Fury and Ortiz, they're a lot taller, and Deontay Wilder's got such a powerful jab, and we talked about jabs with Joyce, but Deontay Wilder's got such a strong jab and he's got such range that, that didn't work for him against Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury's taller than him, but against a smaller man like Andy Ruiz, I feel like Deontay Wilder should come through that. But it's not a gimme because, Ruiz has got the speed as well. So it's an interesting... It's a very interesting fight. Very, very good American heavyweight fight. And I'm excited about that because you've got the speed of Ruiz versus the power of Wilder. And that's going to be amazing. Yeah. That's going to be an amazing fight. I'm excited for that.
Definitely. I think as well, I think Wilder's due like a Robert Helenius. Like he's had 3 back-to-back, probably the toughest fights that you can have. He's had Fury 3 times, which is a nightmare for anybody. So he's due sort of and he's been away for a little while as well. He's took a break, so I don't think anyone's mad at him, so he can blow the cobwebs off. And I'm really excited about. I expect him to come through the Helenius fight in good fashion, and set up the Ruiz fight, which I think is quite an easy fight to make because I think they share the same broadcaster. Is that right?
Broadcaster, same, PBC. So that should be an easy one.
Yeah. Actually, I agree with you. I actually favour Wilder in that fight. I think Ruiz. I rate Ruiz really highly as well, but I just think, for Ruiz to be effective, he has to get inside, and that is such a dangerous thing to do against a guy like Wilder. Now, don't get me wrong, Fury did that so well in the second fight by closing that distance down because he realised that, Wilder has to kind of step back and wind up that big right hand. The problem is, Fury's a giant, and once he's got you within arm's length, he can smother you, and I don't think Ruiz can really do that. Ruiz has kind of got to get inside and really throw some short, powerful shots. And I just think that's such a dangerous game to play with Wilder. It's probably the most dangerous game to play with Wilder. So I do favour Wilder on that fight, but man, what a fight it's going to be. That's such a massive fight for the American heavyweight scene.
So it's a very, very interesting fight. Again, major fights. Very excited about, obviously, Anthony Joshua's team accepting Tyson Fury's offer. That's going to be major. And then more importantly, right now, this weekend, Canelo versus Triple G. It's all going down. It is all going down.
Huge fights coming up.
All right, great. Well, that's been another episode of Another Round.
Like, comment and subscribe to Another Round boxing channel. Ah yeah, baby, let's go.